I apologize. I put a mint in at the worst possible time as I'm walking in. I don't want to swallow it and possibly choke. How many of you guys, a very strange question, I have a few of those. Sometimes with people you have like, what do you call them? Fidget stuff, like fidget toys, you know what I'm saying? Fidget spinners, yeah. Austin's got 3 or 4 fidget things. And I have found that mints for me they're a fidget thing. Put them in and kind of chew on them, and they're like fidget things for me. Aren't you glad you know that now? Man, we don't need to have a conversation now, because you know that. All right, we're going to be in 1 Samuel chapter 7 today. Actually, we're going to be in chapter 8. We're going to look at the last part of chapter 7 as we flow into chapter 8. 7:16 specifically. And then we're going to spend like 95%. Huh? 7:16. You're welcome. A reminder, and we've had a couple of changes. Next week will obviously be our youth rally weekend, so we will not have Bible class in here. I'm not sure what they're doing out there, but we will not have it in here. And we will start at 10:30, our worship service at 10:30 next week. And then the 16th, Rob has changed his approach, so we're going to, I will continue teaching in here for however long. So next week, no Bible class. Worship will start at 10:30 because we will have our youth rally. And I do have the schedule for the youth rally on both of these polls. And so if there's parts of that you would like to come and be a part of, you're welcome to all of it. There's no parts of it that is nothing that, is just for the teens. So you can see the schedule there. I encourage you to come for the singing. Singing is always a really, really cool time. You can also come for all of it. Saturday night, we have what's called I don't know what we call it. Anyway, we close out the youth rally in the fellowship area, kitchen, whatever you want to call it, and we circle up in chairs, and we just sing for about an hour and a half. So a lot of fun, really, really cool. So if you want to be here for that, but again, for the third time. The schedule's over there, and you're welcome to come to really any of it. One other prayer request. I found out this morning that my cousin's son, his name is Jared, passed away this morning from liver disease. Her name is Molly, the mom, and he was 43, I think. So they're in Oklahoma. So if you would keep Molly and the family in your prayers. I didn't know him at all, but a very, very sad thing for that family. So if you'd keep Molly and Jerry, I think is his name. That's right. Obviously, we weren't close. We didn't see each other very much. Yes.
Next week, all we have, the adults have, is worship.
Yes. Yeah. Then we have worship, and then afterwards we're doing our potluck. The 9th is our potluck Sunday for November. Thank you for that question. Is there anything else from anybody that I'm missing? I'm a little scatterbrained today for some reason. What's that? I was waiting for somebody to say today. Okay, 1 Samuel 7, verse 15. And one of our purposes in the last couple of weeks is going to chapter 8 when Israel requests a king. And even as I studied through this again, I realized a lot of assumptions that I've made. Or maybe I just read through it too quickly. and I kind of brought the assumptions with me, and there's some things that I didn't notice. So we're gonna notice those today, and hopefully have some good discussion. All right, chapter 7, verse 15. Samuel judged Israel all the days of his life, and he went on a circuit year by year to Bethel, Gilgal, and Mizpah, and he judged Israel in all these places. And then he would return to Ramah, for his home was there, and there also he judged Israel, and he built there an altar to the Lord. So chapter 8, when Samuel became old, he made his sons judge over Israel. And the name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second was Abijah. They were judges in Beersheba. Yet his sons did not walk in his ways, but turned aside to gain. And they took bribes and perverted justice. Now, there could be a lot said about this, and probably an entire lesson given to the themes and what's happening here. But put very succinctly, what is the narrator here telling us? And what does this remind us of? And what is being mirrored here? What's happening with these first 3 verses?
They weren't following the example that Samuel set.
Right. Yeah. They weren't sons who mirrored their dad very well. Yeah. What's that?
Were they his only 2 sons?
That's a good question. I don't know.
This translation, the NLT says that he appointed his sons to be judges over Israel. Joel and Bathsheba, his oldest sons, called Court of Bathsheba.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I don't know.
And they were greedy for money.
Right.
Accepted bribes and perverted justice.
Right. Yeah, Kent.
I think maybe he made a mistake concerning raising his boys like I did. I think maybe he might have spent too much time away from home. He was going around making the circuit of all these different places,
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of working too many hours when my kids are little. That was a mistake.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think as I was visiting with somebody this last week about how interesting it would be to read some of these documents in Hebrew. There are a number of Psalms that I have read about that reading them in Hebrew is just different than reading them in English or really any other language. So whenever we read the first part of this, as we're reading this, and I say this very lightly, if we're paying attention, what does this remind us of? This is Eli, right? I mean, we were doing let's I. What's that? Oh, yeah. What happened with Eli and his sons? Same thing. They were just with prostitutes, right? Right there in front of the temple. This is both greedy, taking bribes, and cause justice to just turn aside. And one of the things we don't know was this like a thing that went on for a month or a couple of years? Or were they like this as teens and it just got worse? We don't know because it's not stated. But go ahead.
You have to figure that as Samuel made his progression through these places, that there was some pomp and ceremony associated with it. So they were sort of spoiled rich kids.
Yeah, possibly. And you have to wonder, any child of a parent that acts totally opposite of the parent, creates an issue, possibly. And so as he's doing his circuit, and for fear of again being a little possibly annoying, chapter verse divisions didn't come for a full millennia after the first century, a millennia and a half for almost both of them. So as we read through this, and we're reading essentially a scroll here, okay? So starting back in verse 15, and we're not going to say now we're going to go to chapter 8. Samuel judged Israel all the days of his life, and there's no verse divisions here. This is just a narration of what happened. And he used to go annually on circuit to Bethel and Gilgal and Mizpah. And what did he go there to do? To judge the people in all of these places. So it's probably reading the law, sharing with them how to live godly, to make sure that what happened, whether it was 5 or 10 or 20 years ago with the Philistines, didn't happen, that they made sure they continued to get rid of their gods and idols, and they gave their loyalty to Yahweh.
And to resolve disputes.
And to resolve disputes, true. That was part of the idea of judging. But his return would go back to Ramah. His house was there, built an altar there to Yahweh. And it happened when Samuel was old that he appointed his sons judges. So it seems to be, when did he appoint his sons as judges over Israel? When he's older. So we obviously don't know what they were like earlier. But for whatever reason, these two guys, Joel and Abijah, were judging in Beersheba, and his sons did not walk in his ways. Now, with what Kent mentioned, one of the things that I guess I want to caution us in doing, I know both growing up and as my sons were growing up, that if children went to the side for whatever reason and they just didn't make good decisions, generally who do we blame, put assign, whatever you want to call it? Not so much who do we blame, who do we place that on oftentimes? Parents. Like, well, if you would have, if you did, things would be better. What do we not know? We don't know that. I know growing up, a lot of emphasis. My sister's married to a youth minister now, a children's minister. I'm preaching, my sister's doing her thing, and there's this assumption that my parents did this great job. And I'm not saying they did or they didn't. But we don't know what happens in homes. We don't know what caused these two boys to do what they did.
I often wonder about that because there are so many Christians, faithful as far as you can tell, that live their life honestly for Christ, and then their children turn aside. And it just, I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Because obviously they had a good example.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I guess part of my point is, and I don't know. I don't know if this is something we necessarily want to discuss. We don't know. What are some things for any given family that you, unless you're a really, really good friend, that you don't know?
What they do at home.
What they do at home. What they do at home.
How they discipline.
You don't know any of that. And I tell you, my family was that way. We were very different, public and private. I'm not saying private was terrible, but it was very different things. And we don't know what happens behind closed doors. So and then you also have kids who are great people. And they're doing great things. And you're like, oh, tell me about your parents. Tell me about what's going on. And they were like, oh, well. And then they tell you, you're like, how the heck did you end up the way you do? So we don't know. And I'm not trying to create an issue where there isn't one, but we don't know why these kids are the way they did. Yeah.
Well, I think as parents, most people do what they think is the right thing.
Yeah.
And probably, if we are honest with ourselves, we do the right thing, but we've made plenty of mistakes.
Yeah.
The fact is, our children have their own personalities and they make their own decisions, which may not be what we view as the best.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I agree. And it's interesting, if I was talking to any of you guys privately, I'd probably share some different stuff, but this is Republican, would be interesting. Yeah, Ty.
I was going to say, it could also be that his sons saw how they grew up and how their dad didn't live a lifestyle of richness or anything. He was kind of a bum or a hermit, if you will, kind of, no, we're just going to do what God wants. And they're like, wait a minute, we've got all the power. Why aren't we,
Doing stuff.
they saw the opposite. And they're like, we don't want to be like him.
Yeah.
Power changes some people.
Some people, it can. Yeah. One of the things that we do know, and usually with Bible study, and I want to, I guess, caution you guys, as I try and caution myself every time I do this, is try as hard as you can to leave your assumptions and your biases on the shelf as you come to stuff like this. We don't know why they turned out the way they did. We don't know why Eli's sons turned out the way they did. We don't know. Now, for Eli's sons, both prior to and during his reign, what was Israel like? What do we know about Israel, at least from what this narrative tells us? Why did they lose those two battles? They were unfaithful. They were divided. They were giving Baal and Asherah as much props as they were Yahweh. Yeah, Ty.
I was going to say, you have to also look at the king at the time. He was extremely corrupt as well.
Yeah.
And he pushed that on everybody. Oh, why shouldn't you have, we're Israel, we should have the best of everything. Right.
So, as you look at both Eli and Samuel, we don't know why the sons ended up the way they did. It could have been culture. We don't know. But the parallel here, it happens to Eli, and at least as I'm reading it, I'm thinking, well, with Samuel, of course, he's going to see what happened to Eli and his sons, follow the example, and he's going to want to make sure that his sons are, don't turn out that way. And what happens? His sons turn out that way. Now, it's different stuff. Eli's sons did different things than Samuel's sons did. So also notice here, with the flow that's happening, they were greedy, they took bribes, they overturned justice. If you did not know these were Samuel's sons, would you think they had anything to do with Israel or Yahweh? And you wouldn't at all, other than the fact that they were connected to Samuel. So, verse 4, all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah, where he lived. And they said, now, also notice here what this author is doing in terms of this narrative. The elders, as a result of what's happening with Samuel and his sons, you have grown old, your sons do not walk in your ways. So, appoint us a king for us to judge us like all the other nations. But the thing was evil in the sight of Samuel when they said. So, as you have both Eli and Samuel, and what happens to their sons, Israel seems to be walking in a better direction in terms of Yahweh. And yet, as the elders of Israel come to Samuel, you're older, your sons do not walk in your ways. So what are these men seeing, essentially? Because after Eli, you have Samuel. Samuel's going to come up, rise up, and be the judge. He's going to be a man of God. What are these elders seeing? Yeah.
It's interesting that they didn't say, these boys are not judges, give us a better judge.
Yes.
They said, no, we don't want judges at all, we want a king.
Yes. Exactly. That's my curiosity. It's like, look, your boys are just not getting it done. We need to find somebody to take your place. Somebody that's, someone who obeys and honors Yahweh. They didn't do that.
And evidently, Israel as a whole was following Yahweh because they said, no, these guys are bad. We need to fix this.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
But
Yes.
they wanted to be like all the nations around them and have a king.
But see, that's what confuses me. And one of the reasons I wanted us to start back in chapter 2 and 3 is as we watch the flow, Israel seems to be, because they won that battle back in chapter 6 and 7, they want to honor Yahweh. They've put away all their idols. They've said that they've sinned. They've done all these things. And then we find out what Samuel's sons are like. And so the elders go to him at his place where he has an altar to God, the end of chapter 7. And Bob's point is kind of where I'm going with this, is instead of trying to find a godly, Yahweh-honoring judge, we want a king. And not only do we want a king, but we want a king like the other nations. We want to look like them. We want to be operated like them. And we want a king who will judge us. And so they want a judge. They want one who is going to act like a king. They want to operate like all the other nations. Yeah.
Well, it's important to remember too how Samuel got his start. When he had his whole back and forth with Eli, and then he basically started to grow into that role. The people knew that he had been established as a prophet. They could see it. They understood that Samuel was going to be a prophet. Was he?
Yeah. Right.
So it was clearly established. And then in Samuel's case, now that he's old, it's not clear who is established as a prophet.
Yeah.
It appears no one is, clearly not his sons.
Right.
So now what?
Right.
What do we do? So I can understand the confusion and the uncertainty about what to do next. And another nation has a king, why not us?
And it seems to work for them.
It seems to work for them. So
And Yahweh, that's a good point, Doug, that Yahweh didn't bring forward an obvious successor.
Right. There was no anointing. There was no... And again, when David gets anointed, and then of course he's not a king for another 25 years, but the anointing happens, 2+ decades before.
And I would think that the people were a little afraid that these two sons were just going to inherit and take over what Samuel had been doing.
Yeah.
And if they're already not doing right, then it's going to get worse.
Yeah. And it's interesting that they know that. Normally, at least, the little that I follow, current events of the day, they knew these guys are corrupt. And they're corrupt right there at the temple, much like Eli's sons were, just in a different way. And also, as we talk about, we need to find somebody better. In our culture today, I grew up in Houston, and so my community was the church. I didn't know my neighbors, didn't know anybody at the stores, because whatever store you go to, you're going to see somebody different every time, as opposed to a community of maybe 12,000 or 6,000. Every time you go to the store, you're going to see, my friend's dad or uncle, or everybody knows everybody. And I would imagine in Israel right now, would they know by this time if Samuel had a successor? They would, and there's nobody. And we look around at the nations around us, and I'm kind of curious with Doug's point. We sometimes view this, we want, and I know that what it's about to say, but these nations continue with their king. It seems to work. We've had 2 judges, and they've both produced corrupt kids. So we want you to appoint a king. This thing was evil inside of Samuel when they said, give us a king to judge us. Why do you think that was evil to Samuel, for them to ask that? And all cliches aside, well, they didn't trust God, they didn't serve God. Why would this upset Samuel?
My boys. You're throwing out my boys.
Yeah. Why can't my boys succeed me at that time?
I think it was less about his boys and more about him. They were rejecting his authority to speak on behalf of God by saying, well, you're old. I mean, they talk about his sons, you're old. You really need somebody else.
Yeah. Which is what God's about to tell them. They're not rejecting me. They're not rejecting you. They're rejecting me.
Obviously, he kind of felt that way.
Right.
Because God, of what God said to him. You know, that don't take this, it's not against you.
Right. Don't take it personally.
Yes.
God would not have said that if Samuel hadn't been taking it personally, so, yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. This may not be the appropriate thing to say within a biblical conversation, but it's not you, it's me. You know, don't take it personally. Even though that may be what they're saying, but God's looking at the bigger picture. That they may be rejecting you, but they're really not. They're rejecting me in the way that I have orchestrated things. So Yahweh then says to Samuel, listen to the voice of the people in regard to all that they say to you. They have not rejected you, but they have rejected me from being king over them. So how was, go ahead.
So God's plan was to have these two evil sons be judges? Because that's what they were rejecting.
They were rejecting Samuel, not his sons.
Yeah, they're rejecting Samuel. And possibly that continual from Eli to Samuel and another.
Samuel had been doing that for a long time. They never rejected Samuel. It was only once he appointed his sons as judges.
Yeah.
I would disagree with that. They brought the ark to the battle without Samuel's say-so. So they were already rejecting the authority of Samuel at that point. Why did the ark get stolen? They did what they weren't supposed to do.
Yeah.
And
That's a really good
further
point.
on in this chapter, the next couple of verses, he even says that. They've been rejecting me and my prophets since I brought them out of Egypt.
Right. Yeah. They're about to say that. Which again, that's why I find it interesting with this narration that there's kind of two themes here, and they don't necessarily conflict. But you have this theme of beginning in chapter 7, where you guys have sinned, you've gone after foreign gods, and if you want to be successful, you need to get rid of those things. And what do? They get rid of them. Not only do they get rid of them, but they admit we've sinned. And we've sinned against Yahweh. And then we find this incident happening where they have put away their gods, and yet we don't like this structure. And apparently it's not working because you have Eli and Samuel, but their sons are not godly men. And so let's get a king. Maybe that'll work. And the reason I asked the question why this thing bothered Samuel, if Samuel is, and I don't say this if as if it's not the case, if Samuel is this Yahweh honoring man, whenever they said, give us a king to judge us. And later on, God is going to say that they don't want me as king anymore. They want an earthly king. They want somebody just like the other nations. Yeah, Ty.
I also don't think Samuel necessarily took the thing about his kids personally, because the same thing happened with the prophet before him.
Yeah. And they've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
It's not as if that this was,
I'm sure he knew his kids were whatever. He probably at this point was like, I've tried, whatever.
Yeah. And you do have to wonder too. I mean, if you have kids that aren't acting well, it still bothers you, but you're like, what are you going to do? So they have also rejected me, last part of verse 7, as being king over them, like all the deeds that they have done since the day I brought them out of Egypt, even to this day, and that they have forsaken me and served other gods, so they are doing to you also. So now listen to their voice. You should solemnly testify to them and tell them the custom of the king and how he will reign over them. So again, I don't know if, yeah, Carol.
Seems like in this situation and when they brought the ark up to battle, never once did they ask what God.
Yeah.
Even when they asked Samuel, they didn't say, Samuel inquired from God what we should do.
Yeah.
And to Doug's point, I understand we today get anxious when we don't know wants to lead us.
Right.
So we
What's in front of us.
dive headlong into this, doing something, and it doesn't turn out well, because we never thought, oh, maybe I should ask God.
Yeah.
Maybe I should pray about this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And even to Ty's point, not only did they not inquire through Samuel of Yahweh, but they said, let's just go get the ark. That'll fix everything. And I continue to make this point because I think it's so interesting. Not only did it not make things better, it made things a lot worse. So I think I mentioned this last week. Consider this. They bring the ark of God to their place, and they lose four times as many people. I mean, they lose worse with the ark there. So even though, yes, it is the case in chapter 7 that we're given this narrative of them putting away the foreign gods, and they're going to honor Yahweh, and they've said that they've sinned, what does seem to be still there? What has not left? Pride.
The reason you don't ask Yahweh is because you don't want to hear what he has to say. You want to do it your way.
You want to do it your way.
Yeah, like what Bob said, they probably already knew what he was going to say, didn't want to hear it.
So there's a lot of really cool levels to this kind of a story once we get to, and I had forgotten about this whole conversation they had. The elders of Israel gathered together, come to Samuel, and they're like, hey, we're done with this this way of doing things. Let's just try their model, whoever they are. Let's have a king instead of having a judge, a prophet. In other words, and I guess this is what I'm wanting us to get to, instead of having a prophet, a conduit, through which God speaks to us, we want what? We want a king, like the other nations. Now, did the other nations' king, now this is kind of a cool angle, was he a conduit for the gods? Kings thought they were gods, demigods, semi-gods. The pharaohs definitely did. Now, I'm not saying all nations are the same here. I'm not saying that.
The idea of between political and religious wasn't
Right.
It was theocracy. The ruler was both.
Yeah.
He was both the religious authority and the political authority.
Yes. So we want a king. We do not want you to be the king and be a conduit through the prophets. We want to have a king. And then you simply,
I kind of wonder almost if they weren't looking at this from how other kings in the realms were. The kings were in charge, and they influenced what the priests and prophets said and how they interpreted things.
Right.
So, if we have a king, then we can have things go the way we want instead of the way God necessarily wants.
Yes. That's kind of what I'm thinking here. Because if you are not in a place of power, if you will, and you've looked at Eli, now you've looked at Samuel, we don't want to do this a third time. Let's mix up the playing field. Let's go a different direction. Now, in doing that, and maybe this is how we kind of come full circle to, in doing that, they haven't rejected Samuel. They rejected God's way because the decisions of two men, or at least their sons, were not good, were bad. So God tells Samuel essentially, I'm going to tell you what this king's going to do, and you need to tell him all of it. And this is also kind of reminiscent of whenever Samuel told Eli, tell him everything. Yeah, but it's going to hurt his feelings. He's going to be mad. I don't care. Tell him. And so he told Eli, this is what's going to happen. Eli was sad, but obviously went through with it. Verse 10, so Samuel spoke all the words of Yahweh to the people who had asked him of a king. And he said, this will be the custom of the king who will reign over you. He will take your sons and appoint them for himself in his chariots and among his horsemen. They will run before his chariots. He will appoint for himself commanders of thousands and of 50s, and come to do plowing and to reap his harvest, to make his weapons of war and equip for his chariots. He will also take your daughters for perfumers and cooks and bakers. He will take the best of your fields and your vineyards and your olive groves and give them to his servants. He will take 1/10 of your seed and of your vineyards and give it to his officers and to his servants. He will also take your male slaves and your female slaves and your best young men and your donkeys and use them for his work. He will take 1/10 of your flock, and you yourselves will become his slaves. Then you will cry out in that day because of your king whom you have chosen for yourselves. Yahweh will not answer you in that day. Nevertheless, the people listened to the voice of Samuel, and they said, there will be a king over us, that we may be like the other nations, that our king may judge us and go out before us and fight our battles. So Samuel heard all the words of the people. He repeated them in the hearing of Yahweh. Yahweh said to Samuel, listen to their voice and appoint them a king. And so Samuel said to the men of Israel, go every man to his city. So the last few minutes we have of class, any thoughts about what we just read? Yeah.
What's that?
What's that?
The second bell.
Well, of course it was, because I keep track of those things. The last thing I wanted to mention, and we'll either finish this up on the 16th or we'll move on to something else, that Samuel tells them, there is going to come a day whenever you cry out to Yahweh, and he will what?
Not listen.
He will not answer. You will not get an answer from him. And I encourage you to, I guess, think through that, the fact that in this moment you are choosing the setting, the pattern of other nations around you. And you're going to get to a point to where you're going to say, help! And what's going to happen? His ears won't be open. He's not going to listen. You're going to have to live with your choice. And so, today as we live our lives, and I don't know that there's a firm transition over, because this was within a certain context written to these people. But at the same time, if we continually do what we are called not to do, and all of a sudden we're like, God, I need your help. Oftentimes it's not so much God not listening, it's we're not used to his voice. We're not used to calling out. And I wonder sometimes if that's what this means. Because is Yahweh always listening? Yeah. We don't know how to call out. We don't know how to listen. We've gotten so bad, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
Well, it's either in 1st or 2nd Peter, it mentions draw near to God, and he will
And he will draw near to you. Yep. Absolutely.